Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. Today we have put on a webinar due to quite a bit of demand, actually, from international students wanting to learn more about seasonal work. And the good news is that there are lots of seasonal work, and the point of this webinar is to try and help connect all the dots. And so we have a great panel with us today that you can see on your screen. We have a large number of panel, actually. But we will make sure we keep this under an hour. But joined today, we have Aimee McCutcheon from Agriculture Victoria, Daniel Feiber from the Department of Economic Development, Jobs, Transport and Resources with the Victorian Government, Michael Crisera from Fruit Growers Victoria, Sue McConnell from Sunraysia, Jeremiah Naupar, I hope I pronounced that right again, Jeremiah, who is actually a current seasonal worker. So we're actually going to hear directly from Jeremiah and Michael Mayer from OnePassport. Just quickly before I hand over to Aimee, who'll provide an overview of the seasonal work and government support, Daniel will then follow up with looking at working for Victoria and how people can apply for the seasonal work, which is the important part we're trying to connect. So we know that there's a lot of farms out there that really need workers, and there's a lot of international students that are really looking for work. And so we're going to try and connect the dots, and Daniel will help talk through the application process and how you can get access. And then Michael and Sue will then talk about their specific regions. So Michael about the Goulburn Murray and Sue about the Sunraysia area and the opportunities that are out in those areas. And then I mentioned we'll have Michael and Jeremiah will have a chat after that, and Michael will talk about how OnePassport is connecting the dots. But quickly, I just wanted to talk about the Career Catalyst program that Outcome.life has established just before Christmas with Study Melbourne and the Victorian Government. And I will share my screen to show how people can connect. So the Career Catalyst program is really being put together in order to help international students with employability, and you'll see how this webinar ties into that. There is a homepage. If you go to the Outcome.life website, we do have a landing page which describes everything about Career Catalyst and the different types of programs that are available. I am just going to go back to Outcome.life. So here you'll see the different services are being offered. You can come for free and get your resume and LinkedIn checked. So we have qualified people that will do a Zoom call with you in order to review your LinkedIn profile and your CV. And you'll learn that your LinkedIn profile is more important than your CV. So it's important not to ignore it. We've put together some interview workshops. So you don't get a job with your CV, you get a job in the interview. So we've put together some very specialized training around how to nail an interview. We're running employability webinars every 2 weeks. So you can click there to get more information on the webinars. There's also a program or a course that's been put together in order to prepare you for job interviews. We have a mentoring program that's being done with Civic Labs, another part of Victorian Government, Launch Vic, and with Study Melbourne. So that is partnering with Rotary to connect international students with professional mentors. LinkedIn workshops, and we also run a startup pre-accelerator. These is all for free for international students living in Victoria. Now, the one I skipped over there is the casual and part-time employment, because that's part of what we're going to talk about today. Yes, we understand that coming to Australia, or particularly Victoria, that you need to support yourself, and getting casual work is really important. In order to get more information on that, you can just click on Find Out More. If you are interested today in the farm work that we're going to talk about, you can come to this page. So go to the Outcome.life website, come to the Career Catalyst and then Casual Work, fill in your details, and we've put in a farm work tick box here. Just tick that and submit it, and then we'll actually pass you through to OnePassport after that, so that we can try and start connecting you into the farms. So that's enough from me on Career. I should also say too, we are looking at internship programs in the regional area as well. So in an ideal world, if you're studying engineering and you're looking for casual work, that we're trying to connect international students up for an engineering internship in, say, Mildura, do some farm work as well for your casual work in Mildura, and really make it easy for people that might want to relocate. That now is enough for me, other than that we are recording this webinar in order to share it with people that may have missed out. So please make note of that. And I am now going to hand over to Aimee, who's going to talk about a bit of an overview of seasonal work and government support. So thank you, Aimee.
Thank you. I'd just like to welcome you all and thank you for your interest in seasonal agricultural work by attending today. As you've heard in the media and so forth, this year's harvest season is unlike any other that Vic agricultural industry has experienced before. And as the pandemic has brought an unprecedented challenge of farmers in accessing the workers they need, as the industry heavily relies on a mix of international and domestic workers in a normal season. The pandemic has actually provided a challenge to that. So the Victorian government is working with industry to provide a coordinated response to this season's workforce shortages and to try and attract seasonal workers to regional Victoria and ensuring that the farmers have the workers they need to get the produce from the farm to the plate. It's an estimated that there's a need for 20,000 workers in a peak seasonal demand, but as I said, with the COVID pandemic, there is going to be a shortfall on that. Fruit and veg harvest labour is extremely important part of the agricultural workforce, and it requires a large group of workers for a short period of time. And when the produce is ready to be picked and the conditions are right, it's an intense period of time. Victoria regions need seasonal workers at different times, and if I get this right, I'll be able to share a map here. Hopefully you're all seeing that lovely map of Victoria now. You can see that different regions require harvest periods at different periods of time. So Melbourne's down here. We've got the Golden Valley from where Mick Crisera is from, who will be speaking shortly about the harvest opportunities that are in that region. And we've got Sue McConnell from Sunraysia, way up the north of the state, and there's also seasonal work opportunities in the Gippsland area. So nice visual there, so you can see where the seasonal work is required. Seasonal work offers jobs for all ages and skill sets, and often the skills can be learnt on the job, and it's not just picking, and I'm sure Sue and Michael will go into more details in their presentations. We know there's thousands of farm businesses and labour hire companies across the state that value the contribution made by the seasonal workforce and in their managing their work, and they're actually managing their workplaces and conditions to ensure employees are safe and paid appropriately. The workplace is diverse with many workers from culturally diverse backgrounds, and the regions themselves offer lifestyle opportunities as well. So I'd encourage you to make sure you do your research and read about what produce is available, what produce needs to be harvested, what the process is, the industry and the region. The Vic government's delivering a 57 million comprehensive support package, and that includes financial assistance to farm businesses. We are also encouraging local job seekers into agriculture, as I've said, and you may have seen the Big Harvest campaign which is about raising awareness of the opportunities, and you may have seen it in print, digital or audio. And we also have a web page which I'll share in the chat after my presentation. There's seasonal workforce coordinators in each of the 3 regions of Sunraysia, Golden Murray and Gippsland. That is also helping farm businesses and job seekers. There's a hotline to support job seekers. I'll also provide that in the chat after my presentation, and you can ring the hotline to get extra information and support, such as registering on the Working for Victoria platform that Daniel is going to talk about. We're also engaging and linking with industry, local council, regional stakeholders and the like to help find local solutions to this labour shortage. And not least but not last is there's also government Commonwealth government support for job seekers who are looking to relocate to a regional area to take up seasonal work, and eligible workers can receive up to $6,000 through the Relocate to Take Up a Job program. But there is eligibility, and you need to make sure what you're eligible for. So the Vic government will continue to support farm businesses throughout this 2021 harvest, and we just encourage you to consider this seasonal work opportunity. There'll also be a fact sheet which I'll provide, which lists the information that I've given and goes into more detail about the process of connecting to seasonal jobs from a government Victoria perspective. And also you can visit our website for more information and support. So thank you, Gerard.
Thank you very much, Aimee. Very informative. We will make sure to all our attendees, we post any of the links into the chat. So you'll see that on the bottom of your Zoom window there. And we'll also do an email out to everyone after this, just with any additional information, because it is a lot to take in. If you do have any questions, please put them in the chat or the Q&A. We will answer them at the end of the presentation, or some of the panelists, if they see them, may even answer them as they're speaking. So if you do have any questions, please do post them. And we will now hand over to Daniel Feiber from the Department of Economic Development, Jobs, Transport and Resources to provide more of a overview of work in Victoria, and more importantly, how you can actually look at applying. Thanks, Daniel.
Awesome, thank you so much. I'll share my screen. So just to give everyone a bit of background, the Working for Victoria platform has been set up by the Victorian Government to bring job seekers and employers together in an easy to use platform. However, you need to be registered on the platform to be able to see the jobs. And I'll walk you through shortly. We have certain jobs that are categorized as being for seasonal workforce, and those are the ones I'll help you find as easily as possible. So for those of you who have registered, you'll be familiar with this, but for those who haven't, you come initially to the Working for Victoria homepage. You're asked to put in a bit of information about yourself. It's worth noting that a lot of the information we collect is purely for data purposes. It won't impact the jobs you see, and employers won't get this information. It's just so we know who's using the platform, i.e. how many hours you want to work a week. That's just information that we collect. This is probably the most important part of the registration stage, because you can't actually upload a resume when you're using the platform. You need to put your employment history here. And so we give you the opportunity to put in the jobs you've done in the past and a bit of a description about what the work was and what industries it connects to. Now, I guess it's really important to note that not everyone has had employment history, so don't stress too much. If you've got voluntary work, that's fine. But you needn't stress too much that this will eliminate you from jobs. But if you do have work history, this is your opportunity to put it in and give it a little bit of time. One thing I really stress to people is proofread how you describe your job, because employers will see this. So just if you need someone to double check your spelling and your grammar, that's always a handy thing to keep in mind, and it can be updated. This is just telling the system the types of jobs you're looking for, and these are how we categorize jobs. So again, this won't actually impact the jobs you see, but it lets us know the types of work you're looking for, and it lets employers know how many people there are on the platform looking for work in different areas and the type of role they're looking to fill. It's not a perfect science. So you can see here, cleaners, for example, sits under labor category. So don't stress too much. Just be as generous as you can. This is a really important part of the process for looking for agricultural work. You want to tell the program that you're looking to work in certain areas, because you actually will only see the jobs posted that match the areas you're looking to work. So if you're looking for agricultural work, be as generous as you can. Say, yeah, I want to see jobs that are posted in Ballarat. I want to see jobs that are posted in and around Shepparton, so on and so forth. You don't actually have to live there to say you want to see those jobs. And a lot of employers offer support with relocating to those areas as well. And again, this is the last bit of information we ask when you register. Similar to the demographic information, we don't expect you to have to answer everything. It's optional. However, it lets us know the users of the platform. Similarly with cultural background, employers won't see this. It just lets us know the types of people using the platform. And then you're registered. What now? I'll show you what the process is to apply for jobs. You get an email inviting you to the platform. You can use an app if you'd like. A lot of our users do. Or you can work off your profile on your computer. Either's fine. You'll see the same amount of jobs and you'll be able to apply in exactly the same way. One thing you can do when you look at your profile is create a background about yourself. And this is really handy to tell the employers, this is who I am, this is the type of job I'm looking for, and really handy if you haven't had work history in the past or you're studying, you can say, this is who I am, and this is your chance to include that. Employers will see that information when you apply for a job. So what does it mean to apply for a job? So this is what it will look like. When you click opportunities on the platform, all the jobs will come up. But obviously, we're looking at how do we categorize by seasonal opportunities, if that's what you're interested in. You click here, you click the category filter there, which I've highlighted, and you scroll down and you tick the seasonal agricultural box there. And what that will enable you to do is see, here's one I prepared earlier. Here's 3 current seasonal agricultural jobs that are on the platform. It will mean that you'll only see jobs that are seasonal agricultural roles, i.e. it'll cut out all the other jobs that you mightn't be interested in, because when you register for the platform, you know there's hundreds and hundreds of jobs up there, anywhere ranging from accountant potentially up to seasonal agricultural work, and you might not be interested in those other roles. So this gives you the opportunity to say, just show me the seasonal agricultural roles. Otherwise, you might have to scroll and find them. So you've done that. This is what it looks like on the app. Similarly, you can categorize in the same way on the app as you would on the computer by seasonal agricultural jobs. And when you're applying for a job, this is what it might look like. You'll click on the job, you'll click apply, there'll be a bit of info about the role, and then you'll be asked a series of yes, no questions and also short answer questions. In the same way that I advise users to check the grammar and the spelling and how their answers look, I would give the same advice here in terms of how you answer the short answer questions. Just get someone to proofread it if you're not 100% comfortable, because it will give employers an opportunity to make an assessment based on how you answer the question, but don't stress too much. You're not expected to write a novel there, just a couple of words that let them know that you're a serious applicant and that you're interested in the job. And then you press submit application and that's it. You'll get a notification that the job's been submitted. And then the employer will make an assessment based on everything you've given them. You might get a notification if you've been shortlisted that they'll be in touch. So via email, or they might call you and ask you to continue with the application process, or they might have decided, sorry, unfortunately, you're unsuccessful on this occasion. And that's the type of notification you'll get. And that's the platform. Pretty user-friendly. Happy to answer questions if there's any in chat or at the end of this session. Otherwise, that's all from me for today.
Thanks so much, Daniel. Just a quick question you might be able to answer, Daniel, that came in from Nicholas. He mentioned that he lives in the Melbourne CBD. And so is it compulsory to move, to actually relocate to take up any seasonal jobs?
Aimee can touch on this, but I guess that's a geographic question and how far someone's prepared to travel for work each day. But there's certainly seasonal agricultural jobs within and around metropolitan Melbourne. So I guess it's just down to how easily you can travel. But Aimee might want to touch on the type of roles that are closer to Melbourne.
Yeah, so there is, thanks Daniel, so you're right, there is employment opportunities around Melbourne and around sort of southern Victoria, particularly around vegetables that have crops throughout continuously. However, it's really the regional towns and regions that require workers as we reach those peak seasonal harvest periods.
Great. Thanks, Aimee. So it sounds like, yes, there are opportunities close, but you're more likely to be successful if you're happy to relocate because that's where the huge demand is. Great. We're now going to pass over to Michael Crisera, who's from Fruit Growers Victoria, and specifically talk more about the Goulburn-Murray region.
Thanks, Gerard. Thanks, Aimee. Yeah, look, for us, we're obviously just beginning the peak harvest time for pears. Stone fruit's been going since November, so there's quite a lot of harvest work and workers required at the moment. So, yeah, if there's any students or anyone that really wants to have a go at travelling either up to Shepparton or even working with growers that are in southern Victoria, yeah, we'd love to see guys have a go at coming up. We've got a local sort of program going. If you Google Pick Shep and register on there, there's a simple registration there as well, where we can hopefully place you directly with the grower. So we're mainly looking to place people with suitable growers without a contractor. Though you can work, if you decide to work with a contractor, you can, but we try to place people without a contract directly to the growers. Yeah, so look, depending what you're picking and what crops you are picking, there are piece rates. So we pay by the bin. So it's around the $40 a bin. Some growers may pay more, so $40 is like the minimum for picking pears. So yeah, if people are interested in picking on a piece rate, we'd hope that people could get up to the 4 to 5 bins a day to be able to make a good wage per day. But, at the start, it is always tough. So, you have to be prepared to be working quite physically, a job where you need to be quite physically fit. So, yeah, I'd encourage anyone to apply at PickShep or through some of the Working Victoria platforms. But, yeah, if you have any problems trying to get through to any of those, please contact us at Fruit Growers Victoria or click on the PickShep link, and we can help place you directly with growers. So at the moment, we're hopefully looking to try and get some transport up in time, but maybe a while away. But yeah, hopefully help with some of the transport issues that we're seeing at the moment.
So Michael, maybe just talk about the type of work and the workers.
Look, with the type of work that we have, obviously, there's different types of work. If people are more suited, there is some supervisory roles when we do harvest. There could be some tractor work as well, depending on the skill of the worker. Harvest is obviously the key thing at the moment, but we tend to, after harvest, we work into going into pruning, and then we work in going in thinning. So, there's work 12 months of the year for sure up here, though the work can be quite intermittent. So you can work, and then there may be some times where it's quite quiet, but that's why we recommend if people go hard for those short periods, earn as much money as they can, and then there could be a week or so or breaks in between crops or even between jobs like pruning. Yeah, there could be tractor work if there's students that are good on tractors and stuff like that. So.
Thanks, Michael. Would you mind putting the links in the chat after this as well, if you wouldn't mind? And you mentioned contractors that you often take them not through contractors. Our listeners may not know the difference between coming through a contractor or direct or how that works. Would you mind just explaining what the differences are in terms of the pathways for employment?
There are, like, a lot of the contractors have multiple farms that they provide labour for. So if sometimes contractors do suit workers that want consistent work because they may be at one farm 1 week and then move to the next farm with that contractor. All contractors that are licensed under the labour hire agreement, they have to pay the correct minimum award, as in the piece rate per bin. So we're just trying to obviously go direct to help the growers save a bit of money with the commission that they have to pay the contractors. So. And sometimes too, some workers, they don't always get enough work with the contractors. If the contractors get full of labour, then we see a lot of workers miss out on work. So we're just trying to place everyone possible directly with growers if we can. And some, if they do decide to also register with MADEC, who are the local harvest service provider, and they will place you with either directly with a grower or with a contractor.
Great. And Michael, someone's just asked a question about accommodation. What's the accommodation like in your region? Is it easy to get, or is it there's not a lot available?
Well, no, it is easy to get if you're prepared to stay in a caravan park or something like that. Camping facilities, there's plenty. There's not many normally we get backpackers in and they're happy to camp and stuff like that, but we're seeing a lot of the growers that have camping sites are not getting much uptake. So there's plenty of room for camping. On-farm accommodation is getting a bit tight, so a lot of guys that we're placing directly with growers are taking up the on-farm accommodation of huts and stuff like that. But with the government rebate for the up to $6,000, if someone's got the money up front and they can pay for for staying at a caravan park, if they work a minimum of 6 weeks and a minimum of 120 hours over those 6 weeks. Providing that they sign off on the application before they start working, they can get reimbursed up to $6,000. So, yeah, there is accommodation, but yeah, just ensure that you go through the correct processes. You will need to go through like a job active program to be able to apply for the reimbursement. That's one thing we've found a lot of people. We have to get them to go through MADEC first, make sure they sign up the paperwork to get the $6,000, to be eligible for the $6,000 reimbursement, or up to $6,000. So, and that's the thing too. There's a bit of misinformation out there. People think they're going to get a $6,000 grant. It's not that. Whatever you pay as in accommodation or travel, you keep your receipts, and then they'll reimburse you those costs up to $6,000 over 6 weeks at a minimum of 120 hours.
Right.
And one final question from me, Michael, is what about skills? What skills do you need?
Oh, look, depending on the job that we're looking at, I mean, yeah, the only skills we need for pickers is really, being physically fit, being able to climb a ladder, and having good balance and things like that. Sometimes the work isn't meant for everyone. It is a physically taxing job to climb a ladder and pick fruit, but yeah, you've got to be physically fit. Other jobs, it depends, if there's other skills that people have that, we need. I mean, we're looking at sort of any skills of management that could help with supervising, or sort of more roles where we're supervising harvest and stuff like that. So, and, if you can drive machinery, obviously, yeah, there could be positions for gang drivers, we call them, or people that drive the bins around and help the pickers. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Michael. Very insightful. And yeah, for our attendees, Michael put some of those links into the chat for you. Moving to Sunraysia, Sue, thank you very much for joining us to talk about some of the opportunities in Sunraysia.
No problems. So I'm talking up around the Mildura and Swan Hill regions of Victoria. I will just share my screen. So this is similar to the map that Aimee put up earlier. So I'm specifically talking this region, which is Swan Hill. So they currently have another 2 months of solid stone fruit harvest in this area. So that's your peaches, your nectarines, and your plums, and possibly a little bit of apricots. Then as you move further down the river, we come to Robinvale region, and that's table grapes. A significant amount of table grapes in this region, and they've just started their harvest with their early varieties, and they will have work until about the end of May in terms of harvest. And then we come up to Mildura, which also is a significant amount of table grapes, which is currently being harvested. Once again, the early varieties, but there's significant work there as well, right up through until about May. And then in the Mildura region up here, following on from the table grape harvest, will be citrus, and that's around about July. So there's several months worth of harvest for citrus. We do have other crops up our way. So there's also the almond harvest. A lot of that's mechanized, but there is work available, especially in some of the cracking plants and just some general farm work for almonds. Also, we have some vegetables, so like asparagus. So there's asparagus picking. and melon picking as well, melon picking and packing. That's a lot more, a bit of backbreaking work, but you do get used to that as well. So they're available. And then we have what's called general farm work. So that could be doing some of the things that, like what Michael was talking about. So it could be carting, fruiting, it could be padding. I'll show you some pictures in a minute. Putting lids on fruit. It might be vine training. So there's a lot of that type of work is paid by the hour, whereas a lot of your picking work is paid on piece rate, so per box. So this is specifically table grapes that we're looking at here. All our table grapes is under covers. And so you could be picking white varieties, or you could be picking red varieties or black varieties. And usually you're picking straight into boxes, and usually on little trolleys that you sort of push along. You have secateurs. You have to clean the fruit before you put it in the box. And you might be picking into boxes, or you might be picking into bunch bags. That fruit, you then put it under the vine once you've picked the box, and then someone comes along and will put it on these trailers, which carts back to the sheds. They're then put on racks and put into the cooling sheds. So there's jobs for doing all of this type of work. So it might be, putting boxes onto racks. And then once the fruit's cooled, you might be putting these pads on the fruit and putting lids on the fruit. And they go back into cool storage. So that's specifically the types of work in table grapes. Table grapes is the biggest, has the biggest call for labour in, especially around Mildura and Robinvale. So just a couple of other points. We do have hot weather here. We do tend to have the hottest weather in the state. So you prepare for that. You make sure, you've always got plenty of water if you're out picking or out in the field. You do get used to that though. The hours of work can fluctuate a bit depending on the weather. If it rains, you may not be picking that particular day, or if it's really hot weather, you may start earlier and finish earlier. So some of the hours can vary a little bit, but it is pretty consistent work. In terms of accommodation and transport options, that does depend where you go. Some growers have accommodation on farm, but a lot don't. In the Mildura area, there is access to the backpacker hostels. So because there's no backpackers currently, there is quite a lot of accommodation there. And the benefit of the backpacker hostels, you've got accommodation, but they also will supply transport to get to the various jobs as well. That's about it, I think.
Great, thanks, Sue. That sounds like a fantastic opportunity with the backpackers. So, usually they'd probably be pretty full. So that
we just don't have any currently. So, yep.
Yeah, great, and it probably makes a very social element too. Is that you're socialising with like-minded people every evening because everyone's in a backpackers.
Yep.
Yeah, great. Just a question from, or a couple of questions have come through on the chat. What would the average earnings be per day if you're a picker?
The average earnings should be around 200 a day. We do hear, stories of $400 a day, but it does depend. And as Michael said, when you start out new at something, it can take a bit longer to get into it. but generally speaking, you can agree on what your piece rate is going to be with the grower. So as in what your rate per box or whatever it is that you're talking about. And generally you should be getting about 15% above what the hourly rate is. So the hourly rate, I think it's $24.80 or somewhere around there. But your piece rate, you should be getting equivalent to around $27 something.
Great. And is it 8-hour days is what people usually work?
Usually, yes. And usually 6 days a week as well.
Yeah, great. And you just raised a point about the minimum wage standards, that if anyone is working on a farm or anywhere in Australia, if you do think that you're earning below what is legal, then you just need to speak up and talk to someone. So through people like Sue and Daniel and Aimee on here today, there's a network of people and there's websites you can go to speak to someone, and that's the best thing you can do. Don't just sort of accept it if you think maybe something's not happening the right way.
And the FairWork Australia website has some fantastic information around what you should expect for horticulture work. Great.
Thank you so much, Sue. I must admit, Mildura is a beautiful part of the world, so I've been there multiple times. So it is a great place to go and visit and to go and live for a while. So I think it's a great opportunity. We are now going to have a chat with Jeremiah Naupauer, who is actually currently a seasonal picker. So we thought we wanted to make sure we got someone who's actually out there doing the work and can actually understand what it's like. And Michael Mayer is also going to join us at the same time, and he's actually going to have a bit of a Q&A with Jeremiah. So thank you both very much for joining us today. And we look forward to hearing about what your experience has been like, Jeremiah.
Thanks, Gerard. Jeremiah, so we were having a bit of a chat before we started, so sorry to recap on some things. Starting back to, so you're on a farm now?
Yep, I'm on the farm now.
Where's that located? Where in Victoria are you?
It's located around Crisera.
Crisera. So you're just on the southeast side of Melbourne, just past Pakenham there.
Yes, yes.
What type of produce are you picking there?
Actually, we're picking asparagus.
Of course, I've heard of the Crisera asparagus. I've had that at dinners before. How's it compare, Sue, with the Mildura one that you mentioned? How many workers on the farm where you are, Jeremiah?
At this stage, we have somewhere around 37 to 40 men.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you staying on the farm or staying in town, or?
We're actually staying in the farm. We have accommodations that they provided in the farm, so that's where we live.
Okay. So it's a bit like a dorm room, couple of bunk beds?
Yep, yep.
Getting to know everyone?
Yep.
That'd make it interesting. I see this. I've dealt with Working Holiday going off to do their farm work, their 90 days of regional primary industry work in regional Australia to get their second Working Holiday visa. And the accommodation and getting to know people from around the world was one of the things they cite as one of the most enjoyable parts of their 90 days farm work. Can you describe an average day for you guys? What time do you get up? When do you eat? When do you finish? All that stuff?
Actually, like in asparagus, we usually work 8 hours a day.
Yep.
But that depends on the asparagus, because asparagus is actually not like other crops where we have times to put on to go out in the morning and pick up asparagus. Asparagus, it's coming in any times of the day. Either we go in 8 o'clock night time until in the morning, or we go in 2 o'clock in the morning and goes on. So yeah, actually on average working hours, we actually make 8 hours a day.
8 hours a day, but it can be almost any time depending on when the asparagus is ready for picking.
Yes, yes.
So but that's quite different to most other crops, I believe. It seems.
Yep, yep.
Right, okay, lucky you. What happens with meals? Are you cooking? Do they supply meals?
With the meals, we actually have they supply our meals, which there's a kitchen that is situated just close to the farms, which we have chefs that cook our food for lunch and dinner every day.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
Yes.
So if you're working quite a bit and you're eating on the farm, it means you're probably saving your money.
Exactly.
I guess that's part of the aim of going out to a bush job is there's no temptation to spend money, so you can bank it.
Yep. Yep.
Good, good. Overall, are you enjoying the experience?
Yes, I'm actually enjoying the experience. I've been here for around 10 seasons now, so yes.
Wow.
I've been enjoying it so much, yeah.
Okay, well, you keep coming back for more seasons, so you must be enjoying it. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. It's good to hear it, as they say, straight from the horse's mouth. So there's nothing, same as Sue's pictures. It really tells a story. A picture tells 1,000 words. So thank you, Jeremiah. Much appreciated, mate.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jeremiah. We really appreciate you joining today, particularly at late notice. So thank you. And I've learned something new today. I had no idea that asparagus decides when it's picked, and it could be any time of the morning or night. That's quite incredible, actually. That's great. Michael, we're going to bring you back on now. As we've learned today, there's lots of ways to register or to look for seasonal work for our listeners today. There's lots of different links. There's different parts of Victoria and different parts of Australia for that matter. And we do encourage you just to start the process. Like anything in life, I believe just starting is the most important thing. I know particularly for a lot of international students, it's a bit overwhelming because there is so much information. And even today, there's a lot of information. But if you do anything from this webinar is to go to the URLs that we're providing you, to go to the information sheets we're providing and just start the process. Go and complete a profile, maybe start looking for some roles, maybe do a bit of research into the Mildura area and see how far away from Melbourne it is or the type of activities you might be able to do in your spare time. Maybe there's some friends that are interested as well. Maybe start talking about it when you're with your friends. But just start the process and then see where that might take you. Now, another avenue that you can register your interest for farm work is through OnePassport. And I'm going to let Michael explain a little bit more about that.
Okay, so we sit at the different side of the program compared to everyone else who's spoken so far. Our focus isn't just on the seasonal working jobs. It's not just on jobs. So OnePassport is an online app where you can download and upload all of your job-related things from qualifications and work experience, languages, in today's world of COVID, test results, vaccinations when they come out, etc. So you can get all different types of support depending on your situation. So we run something called the Summer Jobs, Study Australia Support, the aim of which is to help international students to be able to access different support mechanisms. 3 key areas. One is health. So we provide an immunisation passport. So if you're overseas coming back to Australia and you need to show that you've had a recent negative COVID test result or in a little while the COVID vaccine, you can upload that. And then while you're in Australia, if you need to go and get a flu shot, etc., you can hold that. There's economic support, connection to things like the Summer Jobs program with farms, connections to chambers of commerce, depending on if you're graduating soon or if you're still here for a while and need a casual job. And then there's also connections to major events like the F1 and Australian Open, AFL, who are looking to give away free tickets and cheap tickets to international students so that you can have a really good experience, a cultural experience while you're here in Australia. So that's what OnePassport does in the international student space. So part of that big picture is helping you get a job. And so we run for students something called the Summer Jobs program. The aim is that on our website, I've just put it in the chat, you can actually go and have a look at information on the job. So here, there's all the different jobs that are out there, the fact that they're 2 to 3 months on average. So for those who are on summer holidays right now and want to be able to know last year all of your savings got taken trying to stay in Australia during COVID, you can now go out and earn, rebuild that savings. there's a lot of information there, as a few of the guys have commented about pay rates. It comes under the Horticultural Award. There's links there to information on working while studying. There's links on your workplace rights. It also has the phone number here for FairWork Australia if you need to contact them. Talks about some of the visa rights. How many hours can you work as an international student? Right now, it's a funny time. If you need to take a break from study to go and earn money in order to survive, you can actually apply to your college for extended leave beyond the summer holidays. And you can get a holiday time grant to be able to go and do that. We know that it's very hard right now. It's unusual circumstances, and that a lot of international students who might have gone home for summer can't do it right now. So they haven't got that family support or replenishment at this time. So they need to go and earn money in order to be able to continue their studies in Australia in 2021 and beyond. So all of this information is on here. Then how you apply is actually just download our app. So it's a 4-step process. First, we give you all this information because your privacy is very important. So this where it says Study Australia Support, it's got all this stuff to read. We need your consent to actually do this job application. So you need to say, yep, I'm looking for a job. So we give you this information, and then we need you to give consent. You then fill in a bit of information about where you are, where you're studying, where you're from. And then we've got a few options, including the summer jobs program, where you can tick the box and say, I'm looking for work. And we'll send you through to Maydeck and a few of the other groups who are here, who've been mentioned online, as helping you to get a job. So then they'll have a conversation with you and say, are you going out by yourself to get a job? Or there's you and 5 of your mates who all want to go and get a job. Have you got 1 month before you go back to school? Or do you have 3 months before you go back to school? Are you happy to travel up to Mildura for a while? Or do you want to be within a couple of hours of Melbourne? So they'll ask all those questions, and then they'll help to put you in the right place for a job. So that's what we do. So if you go to the link that I've put into the chat, there's a video here that you can watch, which actually talks all about how you set yourself up, download the app, connect, etc. So that's what OnePassport does, and that's our space in this. So any support you need for summer jobs, come back to us, and we will help you go through it. Gerard, that's all from me.
Thank you very much, Michael. And I will now, we're actually running spot on time. I'm absolutely shocked by that, so quite proud. But we do have a few questions left over, well, still remaining. We've tried to answer some along the way. So I'm just going to ask the questions to our panel, and whoever can jump in to answer, that would be great. There was a good question here from a female just asking about, I think Jeremiah said that it was mainly males that were on at his site. Are there opportunities for females? Are there many females that are taking up these work opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the jobs, we have just as many females as males. A lot of the packing jobs they often prefer females. They seem to do it better. But even some of the picking, some of the females do a great job of that as well.
That's fantastic to hear, particularly getting that match. So yes, if you are asking that question, or for the females listening, yeah, please don't be hesitant. There are lots of females on the site, so please do apply. Someone also asked about, do you need any certificates or anything like that to be able to go and work on the farms? Any qualifications or certificates you need? Tim?
Yeah, well, generally the picking itself, horticulture is unskilled labour, so you don't require certificates, so to speak, or checklists. Experience in farm work would help, but you would need certain skills and certificates if you were doing machinery work, but the average labour doesn't require any certification.
Great, that's a great answer. It makes it, it just reduces the barriers, so fantastic. Someone's asked about timing. So I suppose the word seasonal is a little bit ambiguous. Are there opportunities for people to do a 2-week or a 4-week thing? Does it have to be 12 weeks? What is actually meant by seasonal, and how much variety is there in time? Anyone who wants this one?
Yeah, I'll have a crack at this one. Look, with seasonal, it just depends on where you end up taking up the work. So, you know, if someone's a good worker, it could be 12 months of the year in this region. So anywhere from picking and also packing, which I forgot to mention earlier as well. So there is opportunity for fruit packing work as well. But yeah, it's really the key for us when we get seasonal workers, even this season, because we're having a shortage. If we get people that come and help even for 2 weeks and have a good go at picking for 2 weeks, it really helps us a lot. So what we don't want is people coming for 1 or 2 days and then going home. That sort of creates a lot of paperwork for our growers. And it just doesn't do anyone any good. But yeah, if you are going to have a go, I'd suggest come and have a go for a couple of weeks, have a real crack at it. And generally, if the orchardist spot a good worker, they'll tend to want to keep them, past the picking or get them onto doing other jobs. So yeah, so I mean, seasonal can be, it could be 12 months of the year. It could be 2 weeks.
So Michael, we might have, well, we probably would have some listeners that are going back to uni in, say, mid-March or maybe around that time. So we've sort of got the whole month of February now, that if they were able to maybe have 2 or 3 weeks in February, they should definitely still apply.
Oh, definitely. Yep. No, look, we understand the nature of the work. It's quite intermittent. So, people that come and work for 4 weeks, it's fine. Our peak time, the most time for us, this is our region. I can't speak for Mildura or Swan Hill or other regions, but definitely in our region in Shepparton, we've got the next sort of February is there's no breaks in February. It'll be the next 4 to 6 weeks. There's definitely full 6 days a week of work, providing it doesn't rain like it's going to rain tomorrow. But and we're going to lose a few pickers tomorrow, I think. But yeah, there's definitely 6 or even 7 days a week work for the next 6 weeks, solid.
It sounds like an actual great opportunity. Before you go back to uni, you could go and earn some decent money for the next 4 weeks, go work pretty hard. Yep. And now's a really good time to do it. That's great. Actual question, is there usually internet, I suppose, in some of the accommodation if they're on site? Could someone maybe do some picking and do some uni work at night time, or is it not easy to do that?
No, not many growers have that with their on-site accommodation. Not many would have internet. There could be a couple, but yeah, not many. No. Okay. But I don't know about some of the caravan parks and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, you'd probably get it in your hostels or caravan parks, but yeah, probably not so likely on farm.
Great.
I think growers, in time, understanding we're going to have to improve all those things for our workers. So.
Yeah, fantastic. Tim, you did raise your hand. Did you want to add anything to what Michael has said?
Unmute myself. Just similar to what he was saying, yeah, there's different crops require different periods for picking or preparing. And yeah, there's definitely some short stints that need to be done. And there's obviously work that's year round as well. So yeah, he answered basically what I was going to say too. So definitely.
And someone did ask about 2022, but I'm assuming, there's always work on the farm. So it's not just this summer, though. There's more demand this summer because of the pandemic, but who knows, maybe the borders aren't even open by this time next year. I shouldn't say that out loud, but who knows? So I imagine 2022 is going to be a good opportunities for international students as well. Michael, I did see you put in the chat about the $6,000 that for international visa holders, it is $2,000 relocation, and but you've got to do 6 weeks and 120 hours. So that was your clarification on that, was it?
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify that. Yeah. So for international visa holders that work, it's not the 6,000. It's up to $2,000 reimbursement. Yeah. And also too, the federal government recently announced that student visa holders can work more than the minimum of 20 hours a week now. They can up it to 40 hours a week. Yeah. So some jobs, say in a packing shed, that students will be paid wages, they can work up to 40 hours now.
Yeah, that's great. And I think with what Michael Mayer said before, that you can now defer a semester if you're willing to go and work in the regional areas. So there's an opportunity to go and do 4 or 5 months and, just defer your studies for a semester if, that's sort of the position you're in, you need to do that. So I think the government's making some good leniency in trying to support international students if they need to go and do that work. So final question, I think, is just around occupational health and safety. Is there anything that anyone needs to know about OH&S? I assume there's probably inductions that happen when you get on farms, and I imagine, being Australia, we're very good at this sort of stuff. So I imagine all that safety is put in place very early on.
Yeah, that's definitely something that they need to be aware of. Make sure that wherever you get work, that you do a safety induction before you start work. Don't start work at all unless you've done a safety induction and you're aware of all of the hazards and potential things that you need to know for your own safety. Make sure that you've signed off on it as well, and that you've seen paperwork. And it's even best to try and get a copy of that paperwork yourself as well, so that you know, like all levels of safety and what you need to do if you need to report an incident or an accident or a near miss. Yeah, so safety is definitely a crucial aspect to the industry.
Yeah. Gerard, there's also a reoccurring theme that I've had from Maydeck, through Aimee and other people I've spoken to in this space, which was to protect yourself, don't take a cash job. To be covered by the law, it all comes under the Horticultural Act, etc. You need to be able to be on the books and taking a legitimate job. If you go for a cash job, you're outside the law, and therefore you're outside the protections that the law provides you from wage and safety and occ health and safety, etc. So it's an easy one to remember.
Thanks, Michael. And that goes for any industry. It could be in a restaurant, it could be whatever, but avoid taking those cash jobs so that you are protected. We've got actually a really good question to end on, and that's someone who's just asked about if they want more information. So if they're interested in Sunraysia, or they're interested in going to the Goulburn Murray, or they want to apply, we have put a lot of links up there, but maybe just quickly to the panelists, is there any one action you'd encourage people to do to try and take this to the next step?
Pick Shep.
Yeah, pick Shep, yeah. And I'm going to provide a fact sheet that has the information from a government perspective on it. So have a look at that fact sheet when it comes to you. Great.
Anyone else? And we'll email that out to everyone straight after this webinar, so you'll have that information. Is there anything else from anyone, any of the panelists have any other comments about? I imagine there's going to be some listeners that are sort of thinking about it, but just not sure what to do next. So if anyone else has any final comments about trying to take that next step and giving it a go.
I think it's just an incredible thing, and I've looked at different farms all around Australia and seeing how these different things that we eat and we take for granted, how they're produced, how they're farmed. I think it's an amazing experience to be able to get out there and do something different and something with your hands. You know, we live in such a technology world. To get out there in the environment, it's just, it'll be an experience you won't forget.
And I'd imagine, Tim, that although it's fruit picking, but all these farms are being driven by technology behind the scenes as well, right? So I imagine if you're an engineer or you're working in IT, agriculture and agri-tech is becoming a huge part of the industry. So for me, I look at it and think, if you're in finance, if you're studying engineering or IT, you can go onto these farms and you can start actually getting connected into how the back end of the farming is working, how machinery is starting to impact the sector. And you might just build some networks up in the regions that actually helps you get a job in the sector that you're studying in.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. There's so many new technologies coming out, just blow your mind. And, you know, each industry needs to try and do its best to stay on top. So definitely people with a mind to come up with new and better ways to do that and more efficient is always what they're after.
Fantastic. And I did mention at the start, we're working on trying to bundle up some of the seasonal work to then go and do internships. So engineering internships, for instance, in regional Victoria. Regional Victoria needs a lot of engineers and IT professionals. So we're working at bundling it all up so that you can earn some money, do an internship, and ideally relocate to regional Victoria. it's something that, you know, I think there's great opportunities, particularly international students, to actually go and live in the regional area. You don't have to be in Melbourne, and there's some great places through the region. So on that note, we're going to wrap up. We're slightly behind time. I just want to again thank particularly Aimee, you've really helped pull this together. So I know I'm chairing it, but thank you for bringing everyone together, Aimee. I really appreciate that at very short notice too. To Daniel, Michael, Sue, Jeremiah, Tim, and Michael, thank you very much. Appreciate your time, and the listeners will appreciate it, and we will distribute this more widely to the people that missed out. So thank you again.